I mean, the more people that start demanding of the legislature, then even people like Robin Voss are going to finally have to take some action. I mean, he's in a position to be primaried out of his position. It depends on whether he's deciding he's going to get some backbone and do something about what's going on here, or whether he's just going to say, nothing here to see, everything's fine.
Everything runs downhill. And here we are again at the bottom of the hill. George Myers.
I'm not going to comment on that one. Good morning.
And Jim Spodek.
Hello.
And I'm Ken Jorgen. And we had quite a little bit of activity, you said, on last week's program.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, that was the vote-mobile that turned into a...
But there were a couple of people that didn't like us?
I guess not. They don't like the fact
What's
that
the matter with you guys? How many were there? Two of them?
A couple of them, at least.
Couple of
There were some pretty good comments, I guess.
They're always funny. Even the people that hate us are funny.
Yeah, they are.
That's the good part, you know.
Because we don't care.
Yeah.
You know, say what you want. We don't care.
Well, I guess we got a reputation for complaining. And what do we got here? A complaint filed with the Wisconsin Elections Commission on behalf of 5 Green Bay residents. Now, this is the Wisconsin Election Commission is in charge of overseeing the integrity of the elections, and there's some real concerns that we've discussed on the show before about 5 communities: Green Bay, Madison, Milwaukee, Kenosha, and Racine. And this particular one is just about Green Bay, or is?
Yeah, it's a Green Bay complaint. They have to, I think they want to create a lawsuit, I think, and they have to file a complaint with the Wisconsin Election Commission first.
That's the first step.
First step, right?
By the way, it's a magnificent complaint. I read the whole thing, and as I'm reading it, seeing all this stuff, I said, what a waste of time. They're suing the WEC because they're not going to do anything. So I mentioned it to Jim, and then that's when he told me what he just told you. Well, they got to go through that step.
That's the door you got to go through.
Go to the WEC. You got to do them first, waste your time there, and then hopefully get it over to.
Well, you want to go right to the guns, you know. I mean, slow down a little.
Balance the bullets.
You know?
Balance the bullets.
But yeah, they give whoever you're complaining against, they give them a certain amount of time to respond. And then they look at it again.
If you get a chance, by the way,
it should be investigated.
Yeah, read it. We got to post it anywhere on Hot Government or something.
I can get it up. Yeah.
Because it's what went on in Green Bay was just amazing when you read that. When you read that complaint, I mean, there was a lot of junk going on, and that's a consideration. That's a concern. But you know what? Some part of that, maybe a good part of it, was going on in Racine too, because they were all started the same program, and so that's what I'm looking at when I'm reading the thing. How much? It was old Zuckerbuck. Yeah. How much was going on here? And well, anyway, we're going to find out more as we follow.
It'll take a while.
Yeah.
I want to mention though, I did find out that the Wisconsin Election Committee, which is the Assembly, did file an open records request in the city of Racine. So they do have a records request.
Oh, okay.
You know, I know Hot Government has a couple in with the clerk and the staff of Corey's, but the Wisconsin Election Committee has open records request in the city of Racine. So
that's the Wisconsin State Legislature. That's the committee of the legislature, as opposed to the Wisconsin Elections Commission, which is totally separate from the legislature.
Right.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
What stimulated them to?
Well, I think what happened in Green Bay. I think what happened was there was emails in Green Bay that kind of reflected on Racine, and then it was like, well, just follow it down.
Yeah, well, it's a natural progression, but I mean, typically these agencies are a little bit on the lazy side. So I'm kind of surprised that they're being sort of proactive here.
There's a different group on it now, which I think they are more aggressive. I think who's on that committee are more up north, and you have to remember they look at Milwaukee and Madison, Racine and Kenosha as the problem. They don't get Sawyer County and some of these other areas don't get the kind of
the sewer.
Yeah. I mean, they kind of look at it and say, what are you guys doing down there? And
Yeah.
we're paying a lot of bills here, and you guys are, creating a problem. And I think that's where, I think there's a little bit of that going on in that committee, too.
Yeah.
So,
Well, there's 6 members,
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
3 Democrat, 3 Republican.
Something like that,
Yeah.
And there are a couple of legislatures. I'm not sure which are on that committee, but they're really hot to trot over this election fraud that went on here last November. So they might be, they're probably instigating a lot of that stuff. And
Right,
and
they have
getting it
subpoena
going.
power now. I mean, I know when they did Green Bay, they didn't have subpoena power, but they do have subpoena power now to
Yeah.
go into these communities and demand that we want the emails, we want the information. So, well, we'll see where that goes. But
Well, in the meantime, the request for records that was filed by Hot Government here in Racine is pretty thorough.
That's a pretty good one too.
Yeah. That went to Wendy Christensen.
and that went to the county. I know there's one to the city. This is to the county.
Yeah. There's
So why the county?
Well,
there's dirt everywhere. You know?
but what I think the key paragraph is in paragraph 4, and this will probably be posted also, where the looking for all communications between the CTCL, that's the Zuckerberg committee that came in and did their invasion, and it's got a whole bunch of people here. I mean, got Fabi Maldonado, Jody Spencer, Nick Dembski, Melissa Caprellian Becker, Robin Voss, Van Wangard, Robert Whitkey, Corey Mason, Scott Letney, Marissa Robick. Those are names you may or may not mention, but those are the more common ones. There's also some from further north. But the point is we're looking
south too. John Antaremian is on here.
There you go, and they're looking for all communication. These people, that all the communication they had with this Zuckerberg group. And boy, I tell you what, it's going to be real interesting, because I'm sure it's going to disclose some stuff, because the two were working in conjunction. What was going on in Green Bay was also going on in Milwaukee, Madison, Kenosha, and Racine. So we're gonna see some stuff there. It's going to be real interesting what went on in Racine.
Well, if you were the clerk and you got this request for records, what would you do?
I would say fine. I'm presuming that well, it depends. If I was the clerk, I'd be running a clean show. Yeah, come on in, take a look around. I don't care. Not a big deal. And that's one thing I'm also interested in. Is Wendy on here? Wendy?
Yeah.
Well, this was filed.
She's
just,
actually, she is the actual complaint.
This went in on Wednesday, right?
This one on, the 8th of April.
It's addressed to Wendy Christensen, right?
Yeah, she is that's who originally comes on with clerk. Records include. So it is Wendy Christensen. It's been sent to. They want her records relating to county activities for the elections listed below, and it goes into a litany of things as far as the machines, the leases, the contracts, the software, IP addresses, ID numbers of computers. So really, it's kind of a thorough.
It's thorough, but if she's clean, like she claims, she says,
Right.
the machines are clean, there's nothing wrong with these, there's nothing to see here. Fine, and let us look anyway.
Well,
okay.
isn't the record system pretty much integrated into computer? I mean, you could be able to, I would think, just do a search on all these various things. Just type it
Absolutely.
in,
Right.
and it would
Right.
come up, and you run it through
I
the
looked
printer,
at
and
it,
you're good to
and I
go.
think most of this stuff is very readily available. I mean, it should all be on, computer, and these records and your contracts, and that should all be all very.
I don't know why
very
it
cool.
takes so long. I mean,
Well-
look at well, yeah, I do.
It's
that
a
was a
stall
joke.
Yeah,
I know why
joke.
it takes so long.
Yeah. I mean, there are some stall tactics. And what I like about this is it's going to Racine County. We know there's things that went on in Racine because we saw the emails from Green Bay. Corey Mason was the touch person that was with the Zuckerberg bucks. We know that. And we know there's things going on there. But in the county, were their hands clean? I don't know. And that's really what this is about. What did you actually know? And, there's...
Well, one thing that impressed me is we get right down near the end here, and I had no idea that Harry Waite was a conservationist.
He is.
To expedite and simplify the response and in stewardship of our good Earth resources, please respond to this request in an electronic media form.
Save on paper.
Way to go, Harry.
Save the planet. Save the planet.
Save a tree. But what about all those pixels that get sacrificed?
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
Well, the other interesting thing is most of you probably heard about the computer fraud that was going on, the voter, how the voting machines were shifting.
Remember,
ballots
use the
around.
word alleged.
Oh, okay. If your doc's alleged, it's me. It happened. Yeah. No, the thing is that you've seen the reports of it, and right in here it's got the address or the identification of these computer and voting machines, because every one of these computers and voting machines all has a separate identification number. One of them is 3B:4D:3D:BE:56.
I know that one.
That's the long. Yeah.
It's a friend of mine.
And you know, it's just very. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, and that was. Let's see. Is paragraph 6 got some more? No, I think that's all. They're all in paragraph 5, and those were the computers that came up on these reports of invasion into the computers by these computer experts, saying these are the computers that they went into Racine County with. Now, Wendy Christensen insists that the computers were not hooked up to the internet, which I think she's just grossly mistaken. I think she's honest in her beliefs, but she doesn't realize how these computers work.
Well, there's a difference
If
between
they're
being
plugged in, they're probably hooked up to the internet. But it
may or may not be at any given moment. So,
well, the thing is,
you know,
that the identification is there. There's only 4 of them, and if she has a problem knowing which one that is, go to the people that issued the thing, which is Hot Government, and they'll let you know where the computer is, because they can spot these things. You know, they know basically which location is what the address
is. If it's hooked
is.
up, you know where it is.
Yeah, you know right where it is.
Yeah.
So she can find out, and then if she's totally open to everything's fine, just say, yeah, go ahead, bring your computer hackers in, have them look at it, see if there's anything that hanky-pank went on. It should be a simple thing for her to do, and
I agree. It should be just simple.
As soon as she starts saying no, you got to get a court order to do it, then we're saying, oh yeah, okay, well, what?
And I think that is actually what sparked this records request. This was a informational budget meeting that happened, and I'm not sure what the group was, but they met at Meadowbrook Country Club, and apparently about 100 people showed up, and Robin Voss was there, Whitkey, Representative Whitkey, Van Wangard, I believe Samantha Kirkman out of Kenosha. It was basically a Republican, type of,
Is this picture?
That's the picture, yeah.
There's the picture.
They're all there.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was just, kind of a
lovely
rally.
group,
Yeah, it was a rally to get the momentum going for 2022. And in that, we had multiple reports of, people were ticked off in this meeting. They were asking about the election. They were asking about the money that was pumped into Racine County from the Zuckerberg. Now, was it county? Was it Racine? There were some answers. They were asking really election questions. And they got kind of told, hey, there's nothing here. And
well, were they actually allowed to ask questions, or did they submit questions and then they were?
Well, from what I understand, is there was questions submitted.
Yeah, that's typically how they do that.
And then apparently the crowd just was like firing it off, like, all right, we had enough of your, political mumbo jumbo.
Yeah.
We want some answers. And from what I understand, all the questions that were submitted were about the election and about the money. So, they wanted to kind of deflect it to, the things that we're going to,
he wanted to turn it into a political rally.
Right, and that's what he did, actually. Robin, on the next day or the day after he got this sent to us, a big thank you to the Southeast GOP Women's Group for hosting our town hall listening session. When almost 100 people turned out and were fired up and excited to win the 2022, you can feel the desire to take our state back.
Man.
Important conversations were here today, and how critical their work will be if they're conservatives in 2022.
Now, you're alleging that is not an accurate portrayal of the meeting?
From what I heard, it was nothing close.
It wasn't rah, go Robin.
Right.
Let's win.
Right.
Yeah.
So
let's get out the vote.
what I'm saying is, why is it that? All right, you and I are in a race, and or race I lose, but you cheated. Or it was something I didn't,
That sounds about right.
Yeah. I'm not going to say, hey, I loved that race. It was great. Let's just move on.
Did you notice your shoes were tied together?
Yeah, right. I want to find out, how did you win when you shouldn't have won? I mean, I'm going to ask those questions. Somebody else may ask those questions.
I should have won.
Right. Why is the Racine County or the GOP, Southeastern Wisconsin GOP, saying, oh, let's just look the other way, let's put our head in the sand and let's move on. Yeah. And I think that's what sparked that open records request, like something's not quite right here. Now, is there information here? We don't know. But I'd bet...
Well, my contention is that they're all cheaters.
Well...
They're all dirty, and if you start looking at somebody's dirt, your dirt's in the same room.
Right.
It's the same broom and dust mop is being used on everybody.
Well, here's the thing. If it is, fine. We get in and find out what the dirt is. But if Robin's claiming to be clean and Wendy's claiming to be clean, then come on in. If it's all their dirt, then that's all we're going to find. It's their dirt, But I just, Wendy... I think, if she wants to write in and let me know that I'm wrong, that's fine. But she has a lot of control over those voting machines. And I don't think that she needs to get a court order in order to let somebody look at it and inspect the machine and make sure that it's all right. I think she could just do it as a matter of course. And that's what I would expect someone to do that's in charge of equipment like that or in charge of the records. There's open records request, okay, if you want to go through that formality, that's fine, but it should be just a formality. I mean, anytime you go and ask something of the government on an open records request, normally that's all it is. It's a formality. Now, as soon as they start wanting to hide something, like we've seen with over at City Hall with our good buddy Scott Letney, then all of a sudden you have all these resistances and you're in court trying to get open records requests, a la Sandy Widener case.
Now, here's something that oftentimes will get looked over, and I see it included in this complaint, and it's pleasing to see this. Number 10 is a copy of software agreement with Smartmatic, Dominion Voting System, Seidel, or any other voting software used in collecting votes, storing votes, counting votes, adjudicating votes, or transmitting votes in Racine County from 2015 to 2020. Now, they might run into some issues there. That's usually a hot point because these voting machine companies don't want the people who are renting or buying or using their software to know what the hell is in that software.
That's right.
Even though you own it, I mean, they maintain master control over it. And that's a real issue.
And I think one of the things that, I think we want to point out is, this isn't about Democrat, Republican, Libertarian. This is about voting and the integrity of your vote and how that is transmitted or counted. And it should be, and everyone should feel safe in their vote. And I think that's the important thing here. And I think the clerk should be on board with that, and all the representatives should be, falling over each other saying, hey, if there's a problem, let's correct it. If there's not, there is no problem, and you guys are barking up the wrong tree.
Well, you know how I feel about voter integrity, or election integrity.
How's it, Doc?
I think it'd be a good idea.
Yeah, there you go.
That's
what
Gandhi said when they asked him, how do you feel about Western civilization? I think it'd be a good idea.
Well, it's straight up.
Yeah. But there's an awful lot in this complaint, and hopefully they'll get back with it soon.
One of the things I thought was interesting in it, and this I'm reading right out of the complaint. It's paragraph number 44, where they're quoting the Wisconsin statutes 6.84 paragraph 1. The state legislature states, and I thought this was real interesting about absentee ballots. The legislature finds that the privilege of voting by absentee ballot must be carefully regulated to prevent the potential for fraud and abuse, to prevent overzealous solicitation of absent electors who may prefer not to participate in an election. Now, that, in this particular election, absentee ballots went out the roof. In fact, we went beyond that and went into mail-in ballots, which opens it even for more fraud. Not to mention, instead of having 1 day of voting, we now have 4 weeks of voting.
If it's not properly regulated, it can.
Well, that's the problem. But all they're saying, they're not saying the fraud has to happen. They're saying it opens the door for that. It must be carefully regulated to prevent the potential for fraud or abuse. because that is exactly what it's done, and there's plenty of sworn testimony, let's put it that way. There's plenty of potential people that are swearing that they saw this type of fraud and abuse going on. In fact, there's already a charge now for somebody having done ballot harvesting.
Well, this is what's happening. And here I'm just going to go one step into this a little further that I don't necessarily know, but I'm going to just throw it out here. The scuttlebutt is, and I don't usually like to do this, but I feel pretty confident in it, that in Van Wangard's district there was some vote harvesting. Someone did some vote harvesting. I heard 12. It was at 12 people. Is it one person that represented himself as 12 people? I don't know that. But from what I understand is they're going to kind of make this into an issue. And is it really, 12 votes isn't going to change a darn thing. And there may be, and I'm sure this happens in other elections and what back and forth. But my thought is, we're going to make an issue out of this and blow it up, get it in the paper, maybe have Trish Hansen finally become a district attorney and is going to, prosecute this person for this ballot harvesting. But it's going to create this diversion away from the Republicans and this election where they should be looking into this too, and they don't. But we're looking into it. Look what we did, and I think that's really what's going to happen here. So in the future here, maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't, but I've got wind that there's been some vote harvesting in Racine County, and I got a feeling they're going to blow this thing up and try to divert the fact that we're not doing anything about it, but we're sure going to go after this person or persons that were.
Well, there's all this talk about does it change the outcome of the election, which brings up a very good question by a fellow by the name of Dinesh D'Souza. Now, I don't know if you know that name, but he's a fairly prominent speaker, and he now has his own talk show. But anyway, he asks the question, well, Judge, just what is the acceptable amount of voter fraud that we put up with? Some places it's zero. And as far as I'm concerned, it should be zero. If there's one case of voter fraud, it should be prosecuted, even though it doesn't change the outcome. But in this country, it seems to be, well, as long as it didn't change the outcome, if it's only a couple million votes, don't worry about it. It didn't change the outcome. And I think that is an unacceptable approach to take to voter fraud. It's kind of like, stopping at a stop sign. You're supposed to just let it go on. Now, don't pay any attention to it because there was no accident. Or if somebody was speeding or doing something like that, and even though there was no accident, you prosecute them anyway. How about bank robbery? Is the same thing with bank robbery?
George, I agree with you, but what I'm saying is this is going to pop up, and they're going to utilize this to say we're doing something, we're on board with it, and this is
we're fighting crime. We busted a kid last night with a dime bag.
Exactly. That's the kind of mentality again. That's this, and I think people are kind of waking up to this. It certainly sounded like it at this GOP informational hearing.
Well, and like you described, how close did his description of the meeting?
From what I understand, it was a complete opposite.
Yeah, and that's politics.
Yeah,
always try and make it look like it's everything's great.
But there's 100 people in there that felt a little different.
Yeah,
so I think it's more. I think people are ticked off with the fact that you had a corporation come in, drop a bunch of money on elections, and I think this not only in the communities that it happened. I think areas outside of the area that said, what the hell is this kind of stuff happening in our elections, even though it maybe didn't affect me or I like the outcome. But the fact is, it's still, I think people are starting to get this feeling that we got to clean this up, and it's really us that have to do it.
That's right. It's going to take people demanding it. The more people that start demanding of the legislature, then even people like Robin Voss are going to finally have to take some action. He's in a position to be primaried out of his position. It depends on whether he's deciding he's going to get some backbone and do something about what's going on here, or they're just going to say, nothing here to see, everything's fine.
You know what the next step is once you get the election process cleaned up?
What's the next process? Next
Find
step.
some good candidates.
Well, that's exactly
right. Yeah.
No, that's.
And on that note, I think we'll say see you later. That's about it for today. Thanks for being here. Come back next week if you can. Thanks.